Hey, before we hop into this last Talage Takeover video for the month, I just wanted to say thank you to Adam and Katy over at Talage. We appreciate the chance to do this with you over at InsNerds. It's been a ton of fun recording content with your team, getting the word out about your awesome client and agent-facing platform, as well as your ability to work with MGAs for distributing different APIs from different carriers, making life a lot easier, quicker on everybody, and simplifying as much as you can while still kind of honoring the underwriting and the needs of the carriers that you're working with as well. So kudos to you, kudos to Amber for, the way she's dug in there and helped clean up the pipes, the applications, the needs with your various carriers partners. Her background as employers, moved to audit there for a number of years, never crossed paths with Adam, but has loved working with them over at Talage these days. So she gets in a lot of fun about what they're up to and why it's such an awesome company, and you should check it out. And then if you want your company or startup to participate in Talage Takeover, reach out to Rolando Ariendo. He's helping us out with affiliate marketing and sales and partnerships over at InsNerds. We're doing a lot of cool stuff with different startups, different kind of quiet groups, different trainings, different marketing opportunities, as well as some affiliate sales. So he can get you set up on that side of the house. But hope you enjoy, hope you find out some cool things about Talage, and we look forward to catching you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome back to the InsNerds Attachment Point News Roundtable. I got Amber Grayson here with Talage today, part of our Talage Takeover in the month of July. I appreciate your team being on board, and thanks for taking some time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is gonna be fun.
So we were talking ahead of time, and I was nerding out that Adam's, buddy. I've known him for a long time. I really appreciate talking. I didn't realize you didn't. I thought just your former employer's employee. I figured you guys all just knew each other, and that's how he pulled you over. Took you out for a coffee.
No, I probably had seen his name on a couple emails. Sales love to send all the problems to audit. So
what do you mean problems in insurance and audits and premium checking? I thought everyone just straightforward.
This agent's upset,
Yeah.
Probably seen a few, but I didn't really know him when we were at Employers. But we got connected through my old senior vice president who knew Adam when he was at Employers. So
perfect. And then I saw the director of underwriting operations now over at Talage, and I figured maybe we can start there. Some of the cool things you guys are doing with tech, maybe look at what you've done in the past to kind of bring over, and then maybe where Talage is going.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think I was really involved at Employers on processes and trying to find the most efficient ways. Mm-hmm. Man, when you're in audit, we had 100,000 policies. You have to audit insane. All of them.
Yeah.
So definitely trying to find efficiencies and ways to improve our processes, which led me down the route to being a product owner. Mm-hmm. And really diving in on the more data and project engineering side of things for mm-hmm. audit. Which then led me to a tech startup world.
I was gonna say, making the machines smarter, making our lives a little easier.
Yeah. So that's where it kind of this passion kind of grew for me to hey, I loved my time in audit. It was a great time, had a great team underneath me, loved everyone over there, but really wanted to kind of go and pursue something that helped me grow. Mm-hmm. And it helped the entire industry that's kind of antiquated. So
yeah, no, it's almost like cheating right now. It's what works somewhere else that isn't working in insurance yet, APIs, and you guys done a great job. I've been in the program. I've had Wheelhouse facing externally. I've used it internally. And where I think you guys are on the money is you can take it as far as you can. Sometimes you get stuck, sometimes it goes through, and then your team's got people there to kind of handhold and kind of bring it full circle, which I'm biased, but I don't think the agents are going anywhere. And let's, kind of let the machines do what they can do. And then your team's done a great job of handing off to people when you need it.
Well, if machines are going to take over the world, I won't have a job either. So.
We'll all be in together. Or UBI.
On the unemployment line together.
But who's gonna audit the machines? Even the machines are gonna need some sort of,
Yeah, even at Talage. So my role kind of flipped from audit to more of an underwriting perspective in underwriting, the data we get and mappings and making sure, as an agent, you're gonna get a quote back with the right class code and the right, SIC codes and all of that stuff, the right descriptions. so that you're getting like a true premium, right? So on our side of it at Talage, right, it's more of like underwriting the code, uh, which was crazy for me, a whole new world.
Yeah.
So interesting and so awesome. But what I think Talage really does a great job of is bridging that gap between the agent and carrier, and knowing that you guys do have someone there if you need it, right? And then transferring all that data over to the carrier's platform. So you can go into there and finish anything up that you need to.
And then, I'm going to speak to this more on the life insurance side, which historically has been a little bit behind P&C. So I'm not sure everything will be 100% accurate. But the carriers, it's not uniformed. It's not like they all got together and agreed, hey, this is how we're going to hand the information. This is what we need back from you. It's going to be great. We're going to get beers at 4. I'm sure there's a lot of meetings of like conversation. What do you need from us? And what can you offer us? And do you have API endpoints? And they're like, sure. And then, and they're trying. I don't think they're not trying. Has it been an interesting discovery process from your side to kind of learn how to get your system to talk to everybody's?
Oh my God. Like that's huge. I was at one carrier. Like I just needed to know their stuff. Like you want to talk to me about employers' class codes? I know probably all of the majority of them, right? But then you throw in like 18 others from, GL, from PL, like all of the various lines. And they all come in, they all have different codes. They all have different questions. They all have, very different nuances from each carrier that you then have to join up into this one system. So it has been a huge learning curve, but so awesome. I joke with everyone, especially our engineers, like I never knew what a JSON request was. And now I'm like, oh man, I can read that. Okay, that's a JSON request. I got that.
That's cool. You're one step beyond me. I can dink around with like a line of code in the back of a website and change like an iframe. But yeah, I know of JSON, but I don't know JSON yet. I should.
Yeah, but I don't know it. I just know how to log. Like, I can go in and be like, oh, look, it's missing that data point. Okay, let me go fix that. And we can make this thing work. And I think that's what's really awesome about Talage is that the engineering team is so involved with every single aspect that they're willing to be like, hey, let's go look at this.
That's cool.
And then you learn this whole new world.
Well, what I think is fun about yourself being there, Adam being there, a guy named Abel Travis was kind of an earlier InsurTech guy, Tony Conius they would talk about how it's insurance and it's technology, and you're bringing like the real heavy lifting industry experience, like the weird cryptic minutia that is what we do, and then it's the programmers who have all their own little levers and all that hard work to make things simple. What I find is kind of funny. So I write some business, I swear, I don't just do all the talking head stuff. Even like in a Accord form, it's just data, but it's just the way people have been used to getting data. And we're just changing the distribution, the connection, the reaction time, what can be gated without a human, what needs a human just to be an extra set of eyeballs. It's fun, it's not, I don't know, it's nothing crazy, in a good way, it should all kind of make sense and plug together.
Yeah, no, like it absolutely. And I think for the most part, first of all, I think every business in any area nowadays is all data now, right? Like, I think everything data drives so many businesses nowadays, and it's going to continue to drive that well into the future for every decision that is made from here on out. But where I think is really great is technology has been so amazing for our civilization, right? It's just so awesome. It's amazing for the insurance world as well. And carriers are really starting to pick up on that and utilize all the data and see what technologies are out there. But we have to also understand, as you said, like there's a human component, especially in insurance, right? One thing technology can't do is like read intent. And that's so much fun of insurance.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So much what insurance is like, what's the intent of this? We have so much data that we can utilize and pull from. But what's the intent of this question? What are we trying? We're trying to, in the insurance world, right? We're trying to mitigate risk. That's how we're going to be profitable. That's how we're going to make our money. So, we utilize all that data, but then, what's that policy going to look like going forward? and what's the intent of this insured, and really only human touch can really read that.
No, you're 100% right. And again, kind of reflecting from the life insurance side, where I've had more experience on, like, I'll call it the systems integration startup side, because we're building something similar, but for life insurance over at Fineo. The questions are all different. It could be asking what would be perceived as the exact same thing, but like nobody writes it the same, and like it's crazy.
That's really where, that's a crazy thing that you say that, because that's like one of the biggest pain points, right, with Talage right now, is we have questions coming in from 18 different carriers that are all different, but like probably 70% of them all have the same intent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they all want to know what that risk is going to look like for them. So, it's trying to manage those kind of correlations from an insurance perspective.
So now we're going too far down the rabbit hole where I feel bad this is turning into an interrogation interview. But so, Director of Underwriting Ops, are you taking like 18 different carriers, 18 different questions, going to everybody like, hey, I know you said this, but are you cool with this? Because I think this is what you're asking. And as part of our platform, everybody's kind of, let's get on the same page here, guys. Just
so like that's really where we're going to go with it, right?
That's cool.
It's like, hey, what if we ask this one question, right? Like it might be a little bit more general, but it covers that main intent. Now, like, are each of you okay with this question being asked instead of your specific one?
Yeah.
And really all that, what we're trying to do is make the agent's life easier. So we're trying to get that application questions, down to as little as possible. Let's save time. Let's make efficiencies. And if the carriers could get on board with that, we'd be really happy.
Well, and I think like what I'll call the win-win-win is you have an agent that's trying to write a fair, competitive piece of business. You have an insured that's trying to protect something in case anything kind of happens on the downside. And you should ideally want to carrier, and I think carriers work hard, I don't want to pick on, but find the risk that they're set up to write well, that's within their bandwidth of what they want to have as far as exposure, what they know, what they work on. So it seems like a win to have everybody somewhat on the same page, because not every carrier is going to want to write everything everywhere. So you're just trying to help, you're kind of dating, all the way around, trying to find the right fit. Yeah.
Yes. I think too, what comes into a lot of it is, carriers are looking at, what's most profitable for their book, right? Like that's the ones that they want. But then like some like freak accident happens, their loss ratio could tank on that book of business, on that particular exposure. And then it's like, oh, now we need to ask these 50 questions.
Yeah.
To make sure we never experience that again. And I think that's more of just where we've come from the insurance industry, right? And I think as they depend more on data and look more at data and look more at the trends, as they are, and all carriers are, that might go away a little bit, but
well, it's hard. It's like hard to unpack it, right? The challenge they have is like, oh, we had this issue before, so they're like, oh, we're never gonna have that issue again. But they don't like wind it back. There should be like a 7-year moratorium on like lines where like, unless you need it again, you have to get rid of it after 7 years. If you've just left this legacy insecurity question on there because of something from Y2K, you need to get rid of that now.
But I think it's a little bit of an issue of letting that go. Like, what if it happened?
Insurance is funny because it's a game of not losing. It's such a fascinating, weird little corner that I've oddly like fell in love with. Oh
yeah, me too. I was kind of thrown in the insurance world and it stuck.
Yeah. What was your sort of origin story? I saw like, I think a law firm back in the day. Or,
Yes, I was going to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
I went to law school, I majored in political science. And then my husband and I moved to Reno for his job. And it was kind of like, oh my God, I need a job.
Yeah.
So I kind of landed in insurance.
It's so funny you say that, because I was headed towards like law school, like liberal arts major, not the best student growing up, more of like a latchkey kid, causing trouble, having fun playing sports. And I was telling my dad I want to get into law. He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, my friends work really hard. I don't know if they make that good of money. And I told him I was going to get into sales, which he was a salesman. He's like, son, salesmen make the most money in the world. But I don't know, there's something intriguing about law that insurance is kind of like our own little fun way to mess with contracts and analysis. And it's a little abstract.
Yeah.
I could see that drive towards law kind of ending up in insurance.
Yes. I mean, I think why it came so easy for me, right?
Yeah.
I kind of had that analytical mindset of breaking down words, right? Like you would in law, like every word counts. And
Yeah.
so it was easy for me to kind of switch over and read like insurance regulations and read all of those kinds of regulatory items we have to know in insurance. So I was like, oh, well, okay, this kind of fits. And then I started doing well. And then it was like, oh my God, I actually really love what I do.
Well, it's so ridiculous, but it's like unpacking puzzles. You know, it's like you look at these things and you're like, oh, that's scary. Oh, that doesn't have that. Okay. Oh, how does this, just kind of interpreting things all day long.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a crazy little industry. And I think everyone, like, the running joke of the industry is like, once you're in it, you never leave.
Well, and it's hard to get in too. When I'm 37. I think I was like about 30 when I wanted to switch over from like logistics sales job, working with my dad, or whatever else. With all the credentialing and the networks, it's like nobody wants to teach you it. And then once you're in it, you can't go anywhere else. It's like a mafia.
You can't leave. Like you're in it for life. Like this is your life now.
Oh yeah. My wife actually won't let me work on anything else. My older brother has like a cooler startup out of Colorado. Like it's called Rover Products, so like a Yeti competitor. I was going to help them out, but she said no. It's not insurance.
You're stuck in insurance.
Yeah, she's wiser than I am. So I think I overthink things as an agent. And I think part of that is I used to roll up to a CEO at the moving company and he would just overthink stuff because he's worried about the contractors, accounting, My friend Andrew Crow gave me my underwriting rules of thumb. Like, who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? And how do you do it? He's like, I don't care what it says on paper. Those are his criteria. I had Becky Montfrey on here, and her underwriting one was, would I want to eat at the restaurant or would I want to stay at the hotel? Those were her two little rules. When you're thinking through underwriting operations, anything stand out to you? Any like best practices you've seen or things that like if a carrier or a company's doing it, you're like, wow, that's really cool. Or maybe in the opposite, maybe legacy practices that if you had your way, you would kick out the door. Yeah.
No, I mean, actually, I love the who are you and what are you doing? Because like that's really it, right? Like, and who owns it? And that's like so important. Well, coming from workers' comp, that's so important.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. So I think it's more if I could get the best information up front, you're the best in the long run.
And I think the other part, and I do think it's better to be straight shooting, not myself, agent friends of mine, potentially. They'll slide things through class codes that are like way less risky than what's actually going on. And if you like squint really hard, you can see how you would connect the two, but you do need the humans behind the systems to like mousetrap it to keep people in line. I'm half consulting, doing other things. So I have a very safe, conservative book of business because it's just not totally how I pay the bills. So I don't want anything to blow up. Is there anything you guys think through? Do you have to kind of guard from us pesky little agents? Anything to kind of help you guys send the right stuff through the pipes? Yeah.
So like on the Talage side of things, it's really based on what the agent inputs. Right. I mean, again, technology is so it's limiting, right? It's based on what all the information we have, we're going to give the best possible information on. From a carrier perspective, it's more like there's lots of things that are safeguards.
Yeah.
I was the product owner for the online premium audit system that launched for employers.
Oh, wow.
And there was lots of little data entry points in there that we're checking on the back end. And I'm sure every carrier does it. Like, hey, wait, is this lining up? And if not, like it throws a red flag and it's, thrown over to an auditor. Hey, review this. Yeah.
And honestly, like I just try to think of it as a long game too, because once people see kind of mistrust, once they see misclassification, once they see a little bit of grease, I'm sure it's like, let's go take a look over at what this guy's doing here or gal's doing over here. I'm biased. I don't mean to be like too naive or positive. But I do think all this data, transparency, communication is helpful in the long run. I think, even as things get more expensive, even as there might be more catastrophic risk, whatever else, I think data and communication helps keep pricing reasonable, helps people get taken care of when they need it. I think, knock on wood, it's all positive trends for our industry.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. I think data and leveraging technology is really going to transform the insurance industry for the better. I mean, just for agents and processes, and time efficiencies, and on the carrier side, from getting better policies written correctly up front, which all trickles down to a really great customer experience. And that's what agents want. That's what carriers want. So, I think where it's going to be a great future for the insurance industry. And I think all of the carriers have really like embraced the technology and understand how they can like just totally broaden their book of business with utilizing insurtechs like Talage, and the many of there's other out there, right? Like, it's coming.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head, though. It's recent. I don't know if it was like the COVID kind of push towards tech, but I had a really nice, sharp lady, Denise Garth from Majesco, on with Fineo that I interviewed not too long ago, and she was saying how like the carriers are excited. They're embracing change, they're embracing virtual stacks, virtual product development, how and I say this as an insurtech snob, but they're very excited about things that we were looking at, that Adam was looking at, late teens, early 2000s. Like they're seeing like the beginnings of all the opportunity, and it's cool. It's cool to have the big players on board, and I don't blame them for taking time to change. It's like changing a country, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I think he went to Adam, in the teens, right? And he was ready to transform the entire industry. And those are the trailblazers that, if we look at the insurance industry as a whole, it's very slow to change. So, but I think they see it. I know when I was at Employers, they were doing so much in that realm, and they continue to do so. And I think in talking with many of the carriers that we're partners with, it's the same thing, right? They know it's coming and it's the way of the future. It's just the insurance industry. Again, we're in risk mitigation, right? We're not like the quickest to be like, let's jump on board with that right now.
We're gonna make a bad joke. I like that around insurance. I'm a wild and crazy guy. To the rest of the world, and I'm pretty boring and conservative. But insurance, Employers tries. They have a good reputation. I know they work hard and are tech forward, and you can't be as big as they are. And the one other, shout out I get to them is, get rich in your niche. They do workers' comp very, very well. And that's kind of a cool game too. Was it challenging going from, I'll call it like a sliver, to like, okay, not only am I going to go from a traditional organization, traditional processes with some tech, to I'm going to look at every line of business for every company. That had to be a little overwhelming too.
So once I started talking to Adam, I started doing my research, right? Like, okay, I knew GL and work comp were very, very similar. So I wasn't going to have it like too big of a challenge in that learning curve, but going into like cyber and going into professional liability, and, all of these various lines now, which is awesome. And it's been awesome to learn all about them. There's still like that similar insurance-based guideline, right?
Philosophically, they all line up pretty good. I don't mention this too often, but technically I'm dyslexic, so abstract stuff is really easy. And I think that's where insurance has been a great fit, because it's all kind of amorphic, We kind
of live in a gray, right? Either way. Unfortunately, yes, the regulations are written in black and white, but really, there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of similarities.
Interpretation. Yeah. And I think a lot of it, kind of going back to our earlier talk, and I promise this isn't just to make people feel bad about missharing data or misclassifying on purpose, but for straightforward, you don't have too much to worry about in our industry, knock on wood, just, And it is incumbent on the advisors, I think, too. I think the Wheelhouse platform is really cool. I think client facing is very helpful, and I think that's definitely going to be part of the future. But as things get challenging, the advisors are there to kind of navigate, to move along. And a shout out I always gave Abbott was the ability for the client to see the quote, but the agent to bind. And I know in some cases you guys enable the binding the client side, but I thought that was kind of ahead of his time on kind of processes and thought, because you want to see what you're putting on the books. I don't want weird insurance just showing up. I always push for like guardrails too, like on auto, okay, maybe you can quote yourself down to 50, 150. But if you want to go below that, we need to talk,
Yeah.
kind of the agent to be able to set up best practices,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Adam's done an awesome job. The entire Talage team has done an awesome job at kind of safeguarding that, right? Because you do need the agent involved. They do have to be a authorized agent of the carrier, so that they know what they're putting on the books and they know what they're writing with that carrier, so that they stay in good standing, So Adam has done a phenomenal job. I'm so excited that I joined his team and excited where we're going, which is really to enhance that agent experience from the underwriting side, make sure that we are asking the right questions so that we are giving the carriers the right information on the risk, and really just overall improving that quoting process.
And I was going to ask, so what's got you most excited? You kind of get in there, I think us all 9 months in, what are you really pumped to work on second part of this year, going into next year?
Yeah, so we're going to really start focusing on the question set. I've been able to familiarize myself with like the 4,000 different questions that we have. From all the carriers, and really going forward, and that's going to be my focus, is reducing that question set. Let's see where those same intents are. How can we get that process improved for the agents? And then also mapping data fields. If you're answering how many employees are over here, then we have that info and how we can improve that in relation to any of the questions. Such as, I know so many carriers want to know if 5 people travel in a car together. I understand the risk. It's like a number one question every single carrier asks it. But if you have 2 employees, will there ever be 5 employees?
No, well, in that logic and like the hard work of breaking down the applications and digitizing them and putting them on the platform and creating ease, we're running the life side. It's interesting, the heavy lifting and kind of the manual processes to make something digital, to make it lighter. It's cool that you're digging in. You become super agent after looking at all these different policy forms and quote forms and everything.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. It should. Right. But that's really where we're going to be focusing on, and where my focus is just taking what I like, the insurance knowledge that I know and I have, and working with the carriers and saying, hey, how can we improve this process for all, but still ensure that your exposure and your risk is covered and answered.
So I think it's such an interesting thing, because you'll never in a vacuum have it perfect. You'll never get it all. And there are companies, not Talage, I'm more familiar on the life side, that'll just quote it broad and quote it like, I'll call it 20% off, like life companies that just quote everybody like they're unhealthy. We don't want to do that either. So it's finding that middle ground of like getting as close as possible, being fair, being as competitive as possible. But we're all,
or we don't want it to just be a price indication. We want it to be a findable quote, right? So like we still need to get all that information covered for each carrier. So it is finding that fine line and finding how we can minimize everything but still ensure that risk is covered.
And I've been in the system. I think you folks like minimize it as much as it can for now in a good way, and then still leave enough insurance questions there to make sure we're painting a full picture. And I commend you for doing the hard work of threading that needle.
It's a task. It's a little daunting, but I am here to dig in and get it done. And I know with all the team's help, engineering, Adam, everyone, that we will be successful in doing that.
Heck yeah. So where should people find you? How should they find more about Talage?
Oh, go to our website, go to LinkedIn, go on social media. All of our agents, check us out, because I feel like we could be a huge help to you. TalageINS.com. Go on LinkedIn, on Talage, or just seriously DM Adam.
Adam's a fun dude. I like that.
No, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you're interested. Anyone at Talage. We're all a huge team, and any of us could help.
Well, appreciate the hard work you're doing, and I appreciate you sharing the time today, and we'll look forward to following your journey.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.